I try and tell folks all the time that the police are not a weapon, the police are not a game, the police are not a joke or leverage to use in a relationship as retaliation. So I was in court this morning and there was a domestic violence case on calendar. It was set for arraignment, and the arraignment is just the first hearing where you get made aware of the charges against you. You enter your not guilty plea, and future dates are set. So there was this couple. There's this guy that was getting charged with the domestic violence charges, and his girlfriend came in wanting to address the court because she didn't want the case to move forward. She definitely didn't want there to be any sort of protective order in place, and she really just wanted this whole thing to go away. And based on what she was saying, it sounded like she was kind of making up the whole thing in terms of the allegations of the case. And this brings up a question or an issue that gets raised a lot, which is that, hey, if my girlfriend or my wife is saying she doesn't want to press charges anymore, isn't that just supposed to make the whole case go away? And it is the unfortunate reality, if you will, that that's not the case, because a victim or an alleged victim, they definitely have a say in the process, in that, when the police are doing their investigation, they're going to ask a couple of questions as part of their investigation. They're going to say, hey, number one, do you desire prosecution? They're also going to ask, number two, if there is a case filed, are you willing to participate in the process? And if a person says, yes, I desire prosecution, and yes, I'm willing to participate in the process, there are sometimes cases where the person expresses that desire and the case does not get filed because there's not enough evidence. And that can sometimes upset people. But the flip side is true as well, where somehow police get called to an investigation or called to a scene, right, to conduct an investigation, whether that's by the the reporting party or the alleged victim themselves, or a neighbor overhears yelling and things getting tossed around and they call 911. The police can respond to that location as part of their investigation. They may ask, do you desire prosecution? Are you willing to cooperate? And at that point, the lady says, no, I'm not going to cooperate and I don't desire prosecution. In that situation, and that's where that question arrives, right? Where a potential client will call our office and they'll say, well, my girl already said she doesn't want this case to move forward. I ended up getting arrested anyway. She's been trying to call the detectives to make this go away and call the DA, and nobody's listening to her and all this kind of stuff. Well, the issue is that it's the prosecution's decision whether they're going to file charges or not, right? So it is the people of the state of California that make that judgment call. And they definitely take the alleged victim's statement into consideration, but ultimately it's the DA that, once they get the reports, the photographs, videos, whatever other evidence, especially if a person was admitted to the hospital, right? If they're admitted to the hospital, then there may be medical records, but they're usually not going to be released that soon. But just the fact that they were admitted to the hospital for injuries, that's going to go in a report. And so when the DA is reviewing everything, they're looking to see, hey, is there some sort of offense that I believe was committed and that I believe I can prove beyond a reasonable doubt? And if they're satisfied of those things, then generally speaking, they're going to file charges. And this is despite an alleged victim saying that they no longer want a case to move forward anymore. Because you gotta understand, it's typically what's called the Family Protection Unit that prosecutes these cases. And they've heard every story under the sun. They've heard all of the excuses. They've heard, people recanting, which just basically means going back on what the person originally said. And the problem is this, right? No cop, no judge, no DA, none of them want blood on their hands, so to speak. That's one way to put it. But they really do, and they do believe that they are protecting society and advocating for the people of the state of California. And on some level they are, right? As a society, we do not accept individuals putting their hands on their partners. That's just not okay. And so, in order to protect someone from a situation escalating even further, right? Because the statistics show that, if a person commits domestic violence, then, they're going to be all the more likely to escalate the violence and even possibly kill the other party. And so the police, the judges, the DAs, they have no idea who is going to be that person that takes it to the next level, right? And so, in an abundance of caution, it makes the most sense for them to charge the person with a crime, to have a protective order in place, meaning that they have to be separated. If you're the restrained party, you can't call, you can't text, you can't email, you can't show up at the house. If you're living at the house, you got to leave the house. It's there. All those measures are put in place in order to protect the other party, even if they feel like they don't need protection. And it almost becomes like a paternalistic view where, you don't know what you need. And so we're here to protect you. Right. And so my whole point in this is, it's just not a matter of the girlfriend or the wife either blowing up the DA's phone or blowing up the detective's phone or showing up to court and saying, no, judge, I want this thrown out. This shouldn't have happened in the first place. A lot of times that just is not an effective strategy. And so I just think that, you really shouldn't play games when it comes to, calling the police. I've just seen it happen too many times where an alleged victim in a case, so the girlfriend or the wife, calls our office and they're saying, hey, I made a mistake. I called the police. Like, he actually didn't do anything. And now, he was arrested. He's facing criminal charges. He's about to lose his job. He can go to jail, all because, I lied because, I was upset that he was liking girls' pics on IG, or I suspected that he was cheating and he really wasn't, or even if he was cheating and she used that as retaliation, and is trying to undo the lies that she told. It just, you really have to be careful with these things. And so just wanted to put that message out there. And if you find yourself in that situation, or somebody who's in that situation, then they definitely need to reach out to a solid defense attorney, because there are some certain tactics and tools that we have that we can put in place to help ease the burden, and ideally, in a case, especially where a person didn't do anything wrong, put them in the best position to have that case dismissed. Well, I hope you got something out of this. Hope it was informative. If you liked it, share it with a friend. Be blessed. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.